Hi, and welcome to week 2 of IT 270. This week we'll be working on CSS and HTML. What CSS is what is responsible for the style of your website, your colors, sizes of things, your positioning. HTML is basically all the structural elements. In this week's announcements, you'll see a link to download the week 2 zip. That will open to this folder, these files, where you have the before and after, which is the HTML project we're working on this week, and the folder here, which contains all the components you need to complete the project. The index, the image, and the CSS, the image file. What we'll do is make a copy of the index file, so you have an index2.html. Make a copy of the CSS, so you have a css2.html. And this is where you do your work on the new copied versions. Reason being that you'll have the originals to look at in case you have some type of, you've made it to a point in the project where you're having problems and you go backwards and you're still having problems. At least you'll have the original to use as reference. And you do the same thing with the CSS2 file. So one really important thing here is with the index2.html, you're now connecting to the site2.css. So here's the connection right here. So if I was to use this, it would not be connecting to the new CSS file. So you have to add the 2 in order for it to connect. Otherwise, all the work you're doing in the CSS file will not be visible on your page. This is the project we'll be working on this week. And what you have here is a div. A div is a rectangle that works as a container. So if we look at the HTML from the HTML sheet, we see section, ID main, all the way down to section. And this contains, from here, this contains all the way down there. See this? You have the search button, submit. This section is a square that contains all this content. So here's a piece of software that shows a div. This is what a div looks like. You can't see this in a browser. But a div goes 100% across the page with about enough room for text. You can see over here you have the div open and close tags showing where the div is. So this is a generic div. And in order to communicate with it in CSS, you have to give it a class or an ID. An ID you can think of as being used only once on a page. It is used only once on a page. And a class you can use multiple times on the page. So if you're going to give something a class, something like text is a really good idea because you're going to be using it multiple times on a page. You might give something an ID to single it out. Maybe you're going to use JavaScript to put some type of a behavior on it, some type of an animation, and you want it singled out. But when you're just making a simple web page, there's not a huge difference between classes and IDs, but it's a good idea to keep in mind what they're used for. Here we are back looking at the project, and like I said earlier, the section div contains all of this content right here. So one of the first things you're going to do is create another section, and this has ID main. So the next section you're going to call ID secondary, and so you're going to paste another section below this, an open and close tag. In between the new section, you're going to go to your IT Module 2 Practicing CSS sheet and take this, copy, and then paste into that new section. So you're going to get something that looks just like this. So then you're going to have 2 sections. 2 divs. The top div right here containing all that, and the other section div. So this is the section main, and this is a section secondary with the new information that you posted on. And this is jumping forward a little bit, but this is what it's going to look like when it's all done. So looking at this, you can see additional resources and contact information. And you know those are H3s. So if I was to style these somehow, I would use a class so I can use the same style twice. So I'd have H3 class equals for both of these. And you can see there is letter spacing is one of the styles you'd be using. And then you see this would be highlight. So somehow you have to isolate that word and then you create a class called highlight and style it correctly. Hope that helps. Thanks. Bye.